So almost unbelievably, the last video that I posted with regard to how to build rapport met with some positive comments, and other people wanted to find out some more on my thoughts around communication, I guess. And in fact, my friend Claudius came back with another question with regard to his interview process, and I thought, you know what, I'll share my responses, and again, maybe it'll be helpful to someone out there who is looking to improve on their own communication skills and interpersonal development. So the question that Claudius asked me had to do specifically with how to convey your thoughts in a clear way without losing your cool. I don't know, maybe I've got that kind of demeanor or come across that way, that I'm able to sort of keep an even keel. But some of the sort of case scenarios that he described were quite interesting. For instance, in dealing with people for whom perhaps English isn't their first language, or somebody who is maybe not computer savvy, and you're trying to teach them something about technology. There are kind of different sort of scenarios you can think of for yourself. Something that maybe comes quite naturally to you, and you're trying to share that information with someone else, much like I'm trying to do here, that perhaps is meeting with some obstacle. And how do you get around that? So here's what I said to Claudius, that basically I think that the key in terms of patient and effective communication is to risk failure and have the courage to both admit your own limitations around how you communicate and the things you take for granted, and also your willingness to try new avenues, new initiatives. So stepping outside of your own comfort zone or the box that you're accustomed to working within. In terms of working with people who might not speak your kind of first language, this is definitely a case where calling in help is not a sign of weakness, but of resourcefulness. You know, whether that is Google Translate or someone that you know who is well versed in that other language. But I think you can also try to, and I would suggest giving a go at trying to connect with that other person or those other people on levels that are more fundamental than language. So if you were this is kind of an outrageous example, but if you were a Portuguese speaking person trying to learn how to ride a bike, and I'm trying to be your instructor, I'd perhaps have us both on bikes so that I could model the actions for you and try to move through each motion alongside you. So there would be a mirroring that happens, and so there's actually a physical activity. Now that maybe would come naturally to you anyway. You would have thought of that as a great way to teach someone how to ride a bike without having to use the language. And perhaps bike riding or something like swinging a golf club is something that's best conveyed visually anyway. But I thought of an example, having worked now 20 years with the Rogers Cup in Toronto, this major tennis tournament. One of the things that I've done as part of the corporate promotions team is to assist in giving away free samples on behalf of some of our corporate sponsors at the front gates. And in terms of trying to motivate, encourage, instruct some of our newer volunteers as to how to do this sampling, is what we call it. I don't just try to push them harder or tell them to speak louder or tell them to engage the customer a little more sort of positively, but I would actually go out there and start barkering, you know, hey, everyone, come try these chocolate bars because we are so glad that you're here at the Rogers Cup on the grounds of the Aviva Center, you know, and something like that, just to show them what kind of energy and engagement that I would hope from someone who is in the process of sampling. So I would just say that you want to really kind of make the effort, the intentional effort to get out there and to do something to try to connect with that other person. If there is some sort of barrier between the two of you, whether that's a language barrier or a knowledge barrier, that actually starts to, again, build rapport, because sometimes that level of communication can go much deeper than what is just verbal. And we all know that nonverbal communication is a greater part of how a message is conveyed than just the verbal part, the selection of words. So whether that is through empathy, whether that's through humor, the actual physical modeling or physical example that you might be able to provide. I think again you want to be as creative as you can be, and be willing to put yourself out there and know that you might not at the end of the day succeed, but the effort will hold value in and of itself. So anyway, there's a little snippet, and I hope that that is again helpful to some of you. I've got another video that I'm going to do with regard to another question that Claudia shared with me about how to deal with stressful situations and communication under stress. So that's coming up, and if you are interested in that, let me know, and I will make sure to get that posted out there. Thanks again. Take care.